Hey everybody, this is Devin with Homeschool House Calls, and we are back with our homeschool boot camp tonight, this afternoon. We're going to talk about teaching styles and learning styles. This one's a fun one. Last week we did laws. Laws are big, but this is almost always a big one that people like to talk about and like to ask questions about. So let's just say that your teaching style and your child's learning style does not always stay the same. So if you choose one to try out and it doesn't work, change it. Like I say all the time, curriculum's a tool. It is only a tool. It is not the whole sum of your learning experience or your homeschool experience. There has been many types of homeschooling that I have done and blended and ended up becoming eclectic. And I think that's how a lot of homeschool moms will become. Very rarely do they stay with one style. Usually it's a season. I started out classical with my son. I discovered a book at the library, and I'll actually put links to these. If I talk about any books, I'll write them down and I'll put links to them. They will be affiliate links to Amazon. That's just one of the things I'm trying to move forward for retirement, because you get there, so it won't cost you anything different. But just so you know that I'm an honest person. But if you look and buy any of them, they'll give us a little bit of kickback. But that's just it is, whatever. So whatever. Anyway, so we started out with the Well-Trained Mind. Found it at the library. You can probably find it at the library too. There'll probably be 2 or 3 copies, so you don't have to buy this one. But what I loved about it is it was one book, and each grade level it gave you suggestions on curriculum. And so I started out, that was just how I started in preschool and kindergarten. And we stayed there until I started adding kids, and then we kind of became Charlotte Mason, and we'll talk about these in a minute. I'm going to pull up my notes because you have to have notes. Notes are like incredibly important to stay on track. So anyway, I'm going to pull up my notes real quick so that I'll make sure I have them, because I'm me. Let's see. So with teaching styles, teaching styles will be like what your curriculum is based to. We'll talk a little bit about blending them. We may not be able to do all of these today, so we can always come back next week if we don't have enough. And if you ask questions, the more questions you ask, the more in detail I can get, because that's just how I am. I love questions, never a bad question. So let's get into these teaching styles. So traditional school at home. This is one. This is going to be what you see if you see a Becca or anything like that, like a Becca or other ones that have been around forever. Nothing wrong with a Becca. I always get a little nervous when that's the first one new families jump into, because it is written as if it's school at home, and it's not, in my mind, not always the easiest to do, but it may be what you're familiar with. So it's kind of structured like public or private school. And that comes from the fact that Abeka was written for private schools. And when homeschooling became a thing about 30 years ago, they opened up to the market. And I am very thankful they did, because that's where we started. A lot of times we've been homeschooling over 20 years. I would find a textbook at Goodwill and I would find ways to use that. So it's nothing wrong with it. Everybody has things that work for them, but make sure you go through all of them. I prefer to suggest curriculum that is written by homeschoolers for homeschoolers. It kind of tends to, but nothing wrong with Becca. If it works for you, stick there. Don't just move because you think somebody else wants you to. So it's structured like public-private school, uses textbooks, workbooks, set schedules. Common with online programs or box curriculum, like Liberty University, their homeschool program is basically school at home. Public virtual is kind of school at home. They're not really thinking outside the box, and it's nothing. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's what works for you. Another one is classical. Classical is based on what they call the trivium. So there's like 3 ages that are, and I may be doing it wrong, but this, I'm giving you a little bit of information so you can find stuff at it. So They have a grammar stage, a logic stage, and a rhetoric stage, and that's like elementary, middle, high school. And it's basically building on each other. It's very rigorous, focuses on language and logic and critical thinking and classical literature. This is where we started when we did the Well-Trained Mind. That's considered a classical education. For me, from experience, other people may be completely different. The more children I added, the harder it got for me to stick to it. I had no problem with it. Some of the curriculum I used all the way through middle school, but it was too much for me. I have 5 kids, so it was too much for me, but some love it, some don't love it. It is still a good, solid program. I'm going to find, okay. Charlotte Mason. We moved to Charlotte Mason once I hit about 3 or 4 kids, very nature-based. This was a English, probably 1800s educator who had a very, short list. So it's like that she emphasizes living books over textbooks, which is kind of funny because I don't know that they had many textbooks at that point in time, but she wanted you to use the original source. So it's like if you're interested in biology, you're not going to have a textbook in biology. You're going to go find the original sources by a biologist and read what they call living books. Short lessons, nature study, narration, the arts, very strong on character development and habit training. It works very, very well with many children. Unit studies, a lot of people love unit studies. If you look through my the YouTube channel, there is, I'm missing it. Look, sorry guys, I get talking and forget. We're on unit studies. So unit studies is basically you have one subject and everything goes around that subject. So if you're studying horses, you're studying the body of the horse with biology. You're studying how to care for the horse. You're counting horses in math. You're writing paragraphs about horses. And this, I feel like, works really well for younger children. Probably works well for high school too. I have never used this one. I have a good friend who does and has used it all the way through. She did a short video and showed us how to set up a lap book that is based on unit studies. And you can find that on the YouTube channel. Wonderful, wonderful video. She's a wonderful resource and completely was happy with me doing it. So you're integrating subjects hands-on, great for teaching multiple ages. Let me move my scrolly thing. Montessori, this is Maria Montessori, about the same time frame as Charlotte Mason, but it's child-led learning, hands-on learning, self-correcting materials, focuses on independence and order and real-life skills. Love the fact that they are very much in real-life skills like small children setting the table. Montessori, I almost sent my oldest to a Montessori daycare. I just could not afford it. It was high on my list of things to do. Next is Waldorf. I can't remember his first name. Sorry, guys. About the same time frame as Charlotte Mason and Montessori. Arts-based education, strong rhythm, routine. And really, I feel like those three, Charlotte, Montessori, and Waldorf, kind of complement each other. Some playways are similar, some they're not. But I think what it really shows is at that time frame, there was some educational revolutions going on, and it is fabulous because we've come out of there. Let's see. Avoid screens in the early years. Emphasizes storytelling and imagination. And now the next one, and this one I'm going to put a little aside. Unschooling. Okay, deschooling and unschooling are not the same thing. I'm going to say this again for the people in the back. Deschooling and unschooling are not the same thing. I see so many people try to mesh them together, and they are not. Unschooling is a teaching style. Deschooling is a transition phase between leaving traditional school and becoming a homeschooler, or maybe even leaving homeschooling and becoming a traditional school. It's that transition stage of walking away from schooling and what you know and trying something new. Unschooling is a teaching style. Some people will call it child-led learning. Some people will call it family-based learning, but basically you're following, I'm going to pull up I don't want to get it wrong. You're following, there's no set curriculum. You're using whatever you find. This is a very homeschool friendly thing. There is a YouTuber named Karla and the Sensational Six, Karla Williams. She has written several books on it. I send everybody to her because I am not an unschooler. I have high regard for it. I know homeschoolers who have done beautifully, but I also know homeschoolers who have not done so beautifully. But then that's all homeschooling. You've got people who are fabulous and people who are missing the mark. So my theory, my mantra, my soapbox is that if you decide to homeschool, you have to do it right. Your children deserve that. Whatever teaching style you do, you study it, you put yourself in your budget, you do professional development. So it is in your children's best interest to do the best you can. That's just, I'm like, you're not going to get anything else from me. That's why one of my groups was named Professional Home Educator. I have workshops I've done for conferences called Becoming a Professional Home Educator. You can find it on the channel. It is important to put yourself in your budget and to study whatever style you're doing. You have to do the best you can. Another is eclectic, relaxed. I think a lot of us end up in this area because we start mixing the things that work for our kids. So I think a lot of moms end up being eclectic and using what works best. And that just takes time. You won't learn what works best for your kids overnight. When you brought your kids home from the hospital, you did not have a manual. You had to learn how they work. And it's the same thing with homeschooling. You're just going to it takes time. You won't find out in a week or a month or a year even sometimes. It takes time. And it is worth time because homeschooling is a beautiful lifestyle. Okay. So I put this through ChatGPT, and ChatGPT put a couple of ones that are not really teaching styles, but I thought they were good to mention. Online or virtual homeschooling, that's going to be more along the lines of a classical education. That's just how it is, especially a virtual public school. So I've mentioned that before, but I just wanted to mention that. Another one is hybrid or co-op schooling. Co-op schooling is not a thing. Co-ops are 1 day a week, usually enrichment programs, but a hybrid or a micro school is going to be more classically based, maybe. It depends on that school. I've seen some locally that are more Charlotte Mason based or Montessori based. So you can see micro schools or hybrid schools. I would put them more closer to what a classic school does, what a traditional school does. But a co-op cannot replace school. If you're in a once a week maybe a tutorals or something where they're hired a professional, but I want you to be very careful with that because with high school, you've got to have 140 to 180 hours per subject to have a credit. You have, a co-op just doesn't have enough hours. They might if they assign a lot of work at home, so it's almost like they're more of a tutor. So just be careful when you judge that don't just go into it thinking that it's going to solve your problem and that's the only math they're going to have that week. That's not usually going to do well. That's just one of your, asides because I'm like that way. So let's talk a little bit about learning. And I'm going to have to pull up my notes for this too. So that's just me. Okay, so visual learners. That's kind of self-explanatory. Let me pull up I'm pulling up this down here. So I'm missing it. I do that sometimes. Let me find it. So a visual learner is going to be somebody they're a visual learner. It could be they need to see it or watch it on YouTube. I have one of these. She's very much a visual learner, and I learned that in middle school and early elementary because everything I got, we would have to pick up a video or watch a video to enhance it so that they could move past it and so that she could learn the information because what I bought was horrible and I couldn't spend any more money. So it's like I was finding other ways to teach the information because the book was not working. And it was like in storybook form. I thought for sure she was going to love that and it was going to be great. Not so much. And she's still very much a visual learner. Auditory learner, or they're going to have to hear it. Lectures could possibly work well for this, but they've got to hear it. Another one is kinetic learners, hands-on. They need to feel it. They need to do it. See, a lot of these will overlap and work together. So they've got to do it, feel it, see it. Small children almost always have to have this part in there too, because that's just their age. Reading and writing learners is one that this is not really one that I see, but this is more of a classical. They need to hear it. They need lecture. They need to read the book. I have one that worked very much well with this, and another who's kind of mathematical. This is my Juliana. But see, these two kind of worked together. Then you're going to have your social butterflies. I don't know that this is actually a learning style, but some kids just need to have other people. Does this mean you throw them in public school? No, I don't ever think that is an answer in this day and age. There's just too many options, but it is something to keep in mind if your children work better. But the thing is that's not really how they're learning. They're learning another way. They need that. All kids need interaction. And some kids just learn better by themselves. Is that always a good answer? Not always. Sometimes they need to be thrown at that social thing too. So anyway, did I hit it right? Y'all gonna ask some questions? Hopefully y'all ask some good questions. I like questions. Anyway, so I hit all the high points. I probably missed a few because I'm trying to keep these somewhat short. Ask the questions. We will do like a parent question answer thing. I decided that kind of worked best last week that we did. 1 week I went over information. The second week I did parent questions. Send me your questions. Today's my birthday, so I'm running off to see the people and be with the people, and kept this one short. Deschooling, we will talk about that. Next week, we'll answer all the parent questions that I get in, because I will. I got like 15 last week. I'll answer all the questions. And then we'll talk about, as I'm answering the question, about blending the teaching style and the learning style, and how to do that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But and then the week after, we'll talk about deschooling, because that's a passion of mine. Because when people say, oh, just unschool them, I'm like, oh, no, those are not the same things. Unschooling, highly love it, love it, love it, love it. Highly, I think it answers many, many issues. But Karla Williams is who to get the best. Her books are the best. They just absolutely walk you through how to do it, even through the high school years. And she's just a lady of excellence. I'll put a couple of links to some books so that you can find her. And we'll do a couple of other things too. See y'all next week. Have a good weekend. Have a joyous time. And ask me your questions. Bye, guys.